So yesterday, Samuel was pretty upset yesterday because Saul was rejected from reigning over Israel. And God said, how long are you going to sit and mope about this? Get up and go over to Bethlehem. And I have a man there I want you to see. His name is Jesse. And I have a king I have chosen for myself among his sons. And Samuel said, if I go, Saul will redrum you. God said, take a cow with you like you're going to do an offering, and take some oil and go. So he goes, and he doesn't have any idea which son God chose. And when he gets there, he finds Jesse has 8 sons. And so he goes through all 7 of them, the first one being the strongest and the biggest. No, not this one, and not this one. Goes through 3 more, and then all of them. He says, is this all your sons? And he goes, no, I have one more son. He is the youngest, and he tends the sheep. And he says, oh, well, I need to see him, and we're not going to sit, we're not going to eat, we're not going to leave, we're not going to do anything until you go get it. So he sends a servant out to the hills to go get David from tending the sheep. And David comes back, and God tells Samuel, this is who I've chosen. And Samuel takes the horn of oil and anoints him right in front of his whole family, right then and there. And Samuel rose up and went to Ramah, but the Spirit of the Lord, it says, departed from Saul, and an evil spirit troubled him. And the evil spirit that troubled him was from the Lord. And David, he had the Spirit of the Lord with him from that day forward. And so Saul said to his servants while he's being troubled pretty hard, and the servant said, you know, maybe you should have somebody come play a harp or something for you. And he says, go find me somebody. They mentioned already David, and he says, well, go get him. And they send to Jesse to send David, and David comes to Saul, and Saul decides that he loves him greatly, and he becomes his armor bearer. And anytime that Saul is sent into a fit from the evil spirit, David plays the harp and he feels sick, which is really ironic because his kingdom is being taken away by the very person who soothes him. He just doesn't know it yet. So the Philistines gather to fight him, and they go out to fight. There's a giant, his name is Goliath, and he stands about 13 foot tall, is what I've heard estimates say. And he's threatening every day. He's going out and taunting, come and fight with me. And every day they're not coming out because they're afraid of him. And David's father calls him in and tells him, you know, I need you to take some food to your brothers. Because 3 of his brothers were on the battlefront. So he sends David with a donkey with some parched corn and some food, just some stuff for his brothers, and a bunch of cheese for the captains. And he gets there, and that's why he gets sent there. And while he's walking up, Goliath is making his daily threat. Who's going to come fight me? Whoever comes and smites me, we will become his servant. But if I smite him, he will become mine. You guys, so who's going to come face me? And they're still not going out. And David is immediately offended. He says, who is this uncircumcised idiot bashing our guy? This guy can be delivered right into our hands. We serve a mighty God. And he goes to his brothers, and his one brother is like, well, I know you're just naughty enough to leave the sheep out there to come just to watch the fight. So David's like, I don't know what your problem is. And he moves on. He's like, this is unprovoked. So he moves on. He talks to some of the people, and finally they tell him, I mean, they're kind of brushing him off. He's dirty. He's comely looking, which that doesn't mean he was good looking. He was not considered attractive. He was the smallest out of all of his brothers. He might have weighed 125 pounds. And he was, because he was the smallest, he was out in the field all the time. He's probably fed less than his other brothers. Not favored as much. Definitely didn't have an inheritance. All he did was tend sheep. So he gets up there, he goes, and finally he gets before the king, and he says, I'll go fight him. he's filth. We can win this. He's out there talking against our Lord. I can take him. And Saul goes, you are just a boy, and he's a seasoned warrior. And David goes, I have ripped the head off of a lion and a bear who tried to take my sheep. And if I can do that through the Spirit of the Lord, I can definitely take this man through the Spirit of the Lord. And Saul's like, fine, if you want to go. He gives him all his armor. And David can't even lift his armor. He just sets it down. I can't use this. He goes out, he picks up 5 smooth stones from the brook on the way out to the field. And Goliath sees him and he takes it as an insult and a joke. And he starts laughing about it. You guys are going to send me this little dog to come fight with me. And he's looking at all these full-grown big men like David's oldest brother out there not even wanting to go there. And here comes this little ruddy kid, no armor, hair's a mess, dirt everywhere, probably stinks like sheep byproduct. So Goliath kind of takes insult to it, laughs at it, taunts him, says he's going to lay him out. And David's like, how dare you come here and speak like that? You don't even know who I serve. And he gives some glory to God in that moment. He gives some real glory to God. And he says, it's through my God, who doesn't need a sword to face you, and doesn't need to be the biggest and the strongest, because he is God. Through you, I will defeat you. And he does. And he removes his thinking spot, and he takes it with him. And he goes to see Saul and gives him Goliath's thinking spot. And he keeps his armor. And we'll keep in mind that he used Goliath's own little butter knife for that. So he goes on his way, and David gets called back to stay with. He wants David to stay put, which I get confused by this part. I really do, because he originally was playing the harp for him and calmed him, and now he's being asked by his dad in this part to come back and stay with him and be a part of all this stuff. And so I'm not sure how this all fits together. It kind of confuses me just a little bit, because it doesn't line up quite in my head. David gets asked by Saul who he is, and he says, I'm the son of Jesse, a Bethlehemite. And that's where it leaves off. And that's why I just it's not got a lot to say about it. And so if anybody knows a little more, by all means, let me know. You can put them in the comments. I usually leave comments open. Sometimes they restrict them. If they do, I'm on Facebook at Gwendolyn Smitter Adams, and I'm also on TikTok at Gwendolyn Smitter. Or Gwendolyn, I think it's dot Smitter. I'm not sure how that works. I need to look at it and put it on there. But anyway, you can always message me. So we left off at chapter 18. And it came to pass, when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Johnathan was knit with the soul of David. And Johnathan loved him as his own soul. And Saul took him that day, and would let him go no more home to his father's house. Then Johnathan and David made a covenant, because he loved him as his own soul. And Johnathan stripped himself of the robe that was upon him, and gave it to David, and his garments, even to his sword, and to his bow, and to his girdle. And David went out whithersoever Saul sent him, and behaved himself wisely. And Saul set him over the men of war, and he was accepted in the sight of all the people, and also in the sight of Saul's servants. And it came to pass, as they came, when David was returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, that the women came out of all the cities of Israel, singing and dancing to meet King Saul with tabrets and joy, and with instruments of music. And the women answered one another as they played, and said, Saul has slain his thousands, and David his 10,000. And Saul was very wroth, and the saying displeased him. And he said, They have ascribed unto David 10,000, and to me they have ascribed but thousands. And what can he have more but the kingdom? And Saul eyed David from that day and forward. And it came to pass on the morrow that the evil spirit from God came upon Saul, and he prophesied in the midst of the house, and David played with his hand as at other times, and there was a javelin in Saul's hand. And Saul cast the javelin, for he said, I will smite David, even to the wall with it. And David avoided out of his presence twice. And Saul was afraid of David, because the Lord was with him, and was departed from Saul. Therefore Saul removed him from him, and made him his captain over 1,000, and he went out and came in before the people. And David behaved himself wisely in all his ways, and the Lord was with him. Wherefore, when Saul saw that he behaved himself very wisely, he was afraid of him. And all Israel and Judah loved David, because he went out and came in before them. And Saul said to David, Behold my elder daughter Miriam, her I will give thee to wife. Only be thou valiant for me, and fight the Lord's battles. For Saul said, Let not mine hand be upon him, but let the hand of the Philistines be upon him. And David said unto Saul, Who am I, and what is my life or my father's family in Israel, that I should be son-in-law to the king? But it came to pass at the time when Miriam, Saul's daughter, should have been given to David, that she was given unto Adriel, the Meholithite, to wife. And Michal, Saul's daughter, loved David. And they told Saul, and the thing pleased him. And Saul said, I will give him her, that she may be a snare to him, that the hand of the Philistines may be against him. Wherefore Saul said to David, Thou shalt this day be my son-in-law in the one of the twain. And Saul commanded his servants, saying, Commune with David secretly, and say, Behold, the king hath delight in me, and all his servants love me. Now therefore be the king's son-in-law. And Saul's servants spoke those words in the ears of David. And David said, Seemeth it to you a light thing to be a king's son-in-law, seeing that I am a poor man, and lightly esteemed? And the servants of Saul told him, saying, On this manner spake David. And Saul said, Thus shall ye say to David, The king desireth not any dowry, but 100 foreskins of the Philistines, to be avenged of the king's enemies. But Saul thought to make David fall by the hand of the Philistines. And when his servant told David these words, it pleased David well to be the king's son-in-law, and the days were not expired. Wherefore David arose and went, and he and his men, and slew of the Philistines 200 men. And David brought their foreskins, and they gave them in full tale to the king, that he might be the king's son-in-law. And Saul gave him Michal, his daughter, to wife. And Saul saw and knew that the Lord was with David, and that Michal, Saul's daughter, loved him. And Saul was yet the more afraid of David, and Saul became David's enemy continually. Then the princes of the Philistines went forth, and it came to pass, after they went forth, that David behaved himself more wisely than all the servants of Saul, so that his name was much set by. And Saul spake to Johnathan his son, and to all his servants, that they should redrum David. But Johnathan, Saul's son, delighted much in David. And Johnathan told David, saying, Saul, my father seeketh to redrum. Now therefore, I pray thee, take heed to thyself until the morning, and abide in a secret place, and hide thyself. And I will go out and stand beside my father in the field where thou art, and I will commune with my father of thee, and what I see, that I will tell thee. And Johnathan spake good of David unto Saul his father, and said unto him, Let not the king sin against his servant, against David, because he hath not sinned against thee, because his words have been to thee word, very good. For he did put his life in his hands, and slew of the Philistines. And the Lord wrought a great salvation for all Israel. Thou sawest it, and didst rejoice. Wherefore then wilt thou sin against innocent life force, to slay David without a cause? And Saul hearkened unto the voice of Johnathan, and Saul sware, As the Lord liveth, he shall not be slain. And Johnathan called David, And Johnathan showed him all those things. And Johnathan brought David to Saul, and he was in his presence as in times past. And there was war again, and David went out and fought with the Philistines, and slew them with a great slaughter. And they fled from him. And the evil spirit from the Lord was upon Saul, as he sat in his house with his javelin in his hand, and David played with his hand. And Saul sought to smite David even to the wall with the javelin. But he slipped away out of Saul's presence, and he smote the javelin into the wall. And David fled and escaped that night. Saul also sent messengers unto David's house to watch him, and to slay him in the morning. And Michal, David's wife, told him, saying, If thou save not thy life tonight, tomorrow thou shalt be slain. So Michal let David down through a window, and he went and fled and escaped. And Michal took an image and laid it in the bed, and put a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster, covered it with a cloth. And when Saul sent messengers to take David, and she said, He is sick. And Saul sent the messengers again to see David, saying, Bring him up to me in the bed, that I may slay him. And when the messengers were come in, behold, there was an image in the bed, with a pillow of goat's hair for his bolster. And Saul said unto Michal, Why hast thou deceived me so, and sent away mine enemy, that he is escaped? And Michal answered Saul, He said unto me, Let me go. Why should I kill you? So David fled and escaped, and came to Samuel at Ramah, and told him all that Saul had done to him. And he and Samuel went and dwelt in Naioth. And it was told Saul, saying, Behold, David is at Naioth in Ramah. And Saul sent messengers to take David, and when they saw the company of the prophets prophesying, Samuel standing as appointed over them, the Spirit of God was upon the messengers of Saul, and they also prophesied. And when it was told Saul, he sent other messengers, and they prophesied likewise. Saul sent messengers again, the third time, and they prophesied also. Then went he also to Ramah, and came to a great well that is in Second. And he asked and said, Where are Samuel and David? And one said, Behold, they be at Naioth and Ramah. And he went hither to Naioth and Ramah, and the Spirit of God was upon him also. And he went on and prophesied until he came to Naioth and Ramah. And he stripped off his clothes also, and prophesied before Samuel, in like manner, and laid down naked all that day, and all that night. Wherefore they say, Is Saul also among the prophets? And David fled from Naioth and Ramah, and came and said before Johnathan, What have I done? What is mine iniquity? And what is my sin before thy father, that he seeketh my life? And he said unto him, God forbid, thou shalt not sleep. Behold, my father will do nothing either great or small, but that he will show it me. And why should my father hide this thing from me? It is not so. And David swore, moreover, and said, Thy father certainly knoweth that I have found grace in thine eyes. And he saith, Let not Johnathan know this, lest he be grieved. But truly, as the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, there is but a step between me and sleep. Then said Johnathan unto David, Whatsoever thy soul desireth, I will even do it for thee. And David said unto Johnathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. But let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the third day at even. If thy father at all miss me, then say, David earnestly asked leave of me, that he might run to Bethlehem his city, for there is a yearly sacrifice there for all of the family. If he says thus, it is well, thy servant shall have peace, but if he be very wroth, then be sure that evil is determined by him. Therefore thou shalt deal kindly with thy servant, for thou hast brought thy servant into a covenant of thy Lord with thee. Notwithstanding, if there in me iniquity, slay me thyself. For why shouldest thou bring me to thy father? And Johnathan said, Far be it from thee, For if I knew certainly that evil were determined by my father to come upon thee, then would I not tell thee? Then said David to Johnathan, Who shall tell me? Or what if thy father answer thee roughly? And Johnathan said unto David, and they went both of them into the field. And Johnathan said unto David, O Lord God of Israel, when I have sounded my father about tomorrow any time, or that the third day, and behold, if there be a good toward David and I, then send not unto thee, and show it thee. And the Lord do so, and much, much more to Johnathan. But if it please my father to do thee evil, then I will show it thee, and send thee away, that thou mayest go in peace. And the Lord be with thee, as he hath been with my father. Not only while yet I live, show me the kindness of the Lord, that I sleep not. But also thou shalt not cut off thy kindness from my house forever. No, not when the Lord hath cut off the enemies of David, every one from the face of the earth. Johnathan made a covenant with the house of David, saying, Let the Lord even require it at the hand of David's enemies. And Johnathan caused David to swear again, because he loved him, and for he loved him as he loved his own soul. Then Johnathan said to David, Tomorrow is a new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. And when thou hast stayed 3 days, then thou shalt go down quickly, and come to the place where thou didst hide thyself when the business was in hand. And shalt remain by the stone Ezel. And I will shoot 3 arrows on the side thereof, as though I shot at a mark. And behold, I will send a lad, saying, Go find out the arrows. If I expressly say unto the lad, Behold, the arrows are on this side of thee, take them, then come now, for there is peace to thee, and no hurt, as the Lord liveth. But if I say thus unto the young man, Behold, the arrows are beyond thee, go thy way, for the Lord hath sent thee away. And as touching the matter which thou and I have spoken of, behold, the Lord be between thee and me forever. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. And the king sat upon his seat, as at other times, even upon a seat by the wall. And Johnathan arose, and Abner sat by Saul's side, and David's place was empty. Nevertheless, Saul spake not anything that day, for he thought something hath befallen him. He is not clean, surely he is not clean. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the 2nd day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Johnathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet neither yesterday nor today? And Johnathan answered Saul, David earnestly asked leave of me to go to Bethlehem. He said, Let me go, I pray thee, for our family hath a sacrifice in the city, and my brother, he hath commanded me to be there. And now if I have found favor in thine eyes, let me get away, I pray thee, and see my brethren. Therefore he cometh not unto the king's table. Then Saul's anger was kindled against Johnathan, and he said unto him, Thou son of the perverse, rebellious woman, do not I know that thou hast chosen the son of Jesse to thine own confusion, and unto the confusion of thy mother's nakedness? For as long as the son of Jesse liveth upon the ground, thou shalt not be established, nor thy kingdom. Wherefore now send and fetch him unto me, for he shall surely sleep. And Johnathan answered Saul his father, and said unto him, Wherefore shall he be slain? And what hath he done? And Saul cast a javelin at him to smite him, whereby Johnathan knew that it was determined of his father to slay David. So Johnathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and did eat no meat the 2nd day of the month, for he was grieved for David, because his father had done him shame. And it came to pass in the morning, that Johnathan went out into the field at the time appointed with David, and a little lad with him. And he said unto his lad, Run, find now out the arrows which I shoot. And as the lad ran, he shot an arrow beyond him. And when the lad was come to the place of the arrow which Johnathan had shot, Johnathan cried after the lad, and said, Is not the arrow beyond thee? And Johnathan cried after the lad, Make speed, haste, stay not. And Jonathan's lad gathered up the arrows and came to his master. But the lad knew not anything. Only Johnathan and David knew the matter. And Johnathan gave his artillery unto the lad. And he said unto him, Go carry them to the city. And as soon as the lad was gone, David arose out of a place towards the south. And he fell on his face to the ground, and bowed himself 3 times. And they kissed one another, and wept one with another. And David exceeded. And Johnathan said to David, Go in peace, for as much as we have sworn, both of us, in the name of the Lord, saying, The Lord be between me and thee, and between my seed and thy seed forever. And he arose and departed, and Johnathan went into the city. We know that Saul is losing it completely, and he is listening to the evil spirit. And we're going to see where that evil spirit leads him soon enough. On that note, God bless you and have a great day.